about it. It doesn't have to be mean, but it has to be consistent. Give yourself permission. It reads here that you may question whether you can even set boundaries in the first place. When these thoughts arise, reaffirm your right to set healthy boundaries. Does anyone feel as if, as a teacher and as an educator, you do not have a right to really set tough boundaries? You do? Why is that?
Well, there's certain things out of your control that, whether you like it or not, it's gonna happen. Like, for example, the whole subbing thing for other people, you can say no. Everyone's like, oh, you can say no, you can say no. Well, if everyone says no, then they can come and say, sorry, it's an emergency, you have to have them anyway. So it's like, at some point it becomes out of our control. Like, there's always this element of, it's just part of your job, you just have to suck it up.
I would agree. I would agree. There are
Yeah,
certain elements that you can't control.
Right.
But I think with that, if we buy into that 100%, there's a chance that we do also accept a lot of stuff that we could have controlled, just believing that we don't have any control. And there are things that we can control, and how you communicate it is what matters. So you may come to me and say, you know, hey, I need you to do this for me, I'm in an emergency. Well, I could say, fine, I'll take it. I'm already stressed, right? I've had the worst day possible, but now it may seem as if your day's worse than mine, so I take whatever you got going, and I'm more stressed now. Or I could say, listen, I can't do all that for you, or I can help you here, and I can't help you do everything. Can you find somebody else to kind of take that part? I can communicate that. I can let people know, like, this is where I can do. I'm not saying no 100%, but I'm just restructuring what the offer looks like. I'm willing to help you here, but, you know, can you just find another resource to help in that other area, okay? Make self-care a priority. We just went over that because your well-being does matter in actually setting boundaries. Consider your environment. Think about what in your environment is supporting your healthy boundaries and what may be creating obstacles. Seeking support. This is something I wanted to touch on when it comes to setting boundaries. Everyone here, I imagine, is enrolled in their health benefits, okay? You have the EAP program that you have the ability to utilize. I actually looked at it this morning online, and you have access to therapists and the whole nine that most corporations have. You don't have to raise your hand, but I'm curious, just to yourself, for those who haven't, why haven't you used the therapeutic solution? You don't have to answer, I just want you to think about it for yourself. Why haven't you used the therapeutic solutions that you pay for? You pay for them. And it's not a Band-Aid to your issues. It can legitimately be a consistent, holistic medicine that you're giving to yourself. Because what's happening is you're coming into work every day, and you may have low boundaries, and you're taking on all this weight, and you're doing it every day. So you're just bringing in more weight, and every single day you're bringing it in, and you don't have any outlet. And your only outlet may be your spouse, or it may be your students that you're yelling at in the morning, because that's your outlet. So I want you all to consider using the access to therapy that you do have. I truly believe and know that would make a true impact in this environment. Being assertive. When it comes to setting our boundaries, being assertive is very important. It is not you being mean, it is you being assertive. How many people know that the word no, N-O, is a complete sentence? It doesn't need emotion, it doesn't need an inflection, it's legit a complete sentence. It doesn't mean you're mean, it just means that no. Now, if you want to offer more to it, that's on you, but you don't have to. That's a distinct boundary, okay? And then starting small. Begin by setting boundaries that feel non-threatening to you, and as you develop your skills, progress to setting boundaries that feel more challenging. All right, so boundaries are your values, expectations, principles, or limits that you establish to keep yourself safe, physically, emotionally, and mentally. When you have boundaries, you're going to feel safer. You're going to teach people, as we all have heard, how to treat you. You're going to teach them how to treat you. And there's three types of boundaries here. We have our physical boundaries, mental boundaries, and emotional boundaries. I can also put environmental boundaries, but it's kind of hard to do when you come to the same job every day. So our physical boundaries, our personal space. Who can touch me, right? Don't just come up and hug me. I ain't your homie that way, okay? Don't come in. Handshakes. You know, COVID's still going on, okay? Our mental boundaries, they are a little bit more difficult to actually figure out, but they are important. How we have conversations around our opinion. What knowledge do we have to take in, right? I don't have to be in every conversation. I don't want to be in every conversation. I can remove myself from conversation. Those are boundaries I'm setting for myself. I can be at the lunch table and hear certain conversation, and you have to set a boundary in removing yourself if that doesn't serve you, if it doesn't serve your energy. Emotional boundaries, just as well. More intangible, but they can be felt. You need to have emotional boundaries. How do you control your emotions? When you wake up in the day, what do you take in? Who do you allow to call your phone? When you're leaving work, how do you reset your emotions in the car? Is it turning on music or is it riding in silence? Having that emotional boundary, so when somebody knows you're off work, they're calling you the minute you're off work. Oh, that was real for you, huh? Right, yeah. As soon as you get off work, they know you're off work and they're calling you with their life and their issues. Set a boundary around that. Don't answer the phone. Your phone is your phone. It's not an access point that people have to get in touch with you all the time. You don't have to do that, okay? All right, so I want to know, and you guys, I want to show up hands, like you can just answer. What is your number one most violated boundary? If you're thinking about like your boundaries, is it your time? Is it your physical space? It could be access. It could be people calling you. What would you guys say? What is your most like violated boundary? Time?
Physical space.
Physical space? In what way? I'm curious about the physical space.
Like when you're in public and you're in line or something like that, people just like to get right on you. A lot.
That's
Yes.
when you just swing your purse up over your shoulder. They get the
Do you say anything?
Most of the time I just move. But like when people talk, certain people talk to you, it's right in your face. A lot of people, and I just sort of got moved back, you know, but I don't say anything, and I shouldn't be saying something. I do. Yes. Yeah.
Do they get the picture?
How many people would say something?
I was like, dang, my
I did
A
once.
lot of people.
Okay.
But I don't like it.
Okay. The one thing that I laugh about often with my wife is that when we do certain things, it's not gonna kill us. Like if I say something to you and I say, yo, just give me like a couple feet, or back up a second, like that's not going to change much of anything. In that moment, it just raises their awareness that they were just too close. Now they may be thinking to themselves on the opposite side, I was too close, my bad. Like, and they may be thinking that they didn't know it. Raising that awareness for anything. If someone walks in your classroom and they don't knock on the door, whatever, like, or whatever the boundary could be that's being violated, raising the awareness, you're helping raise the awareness for them. You're putting a spotlight on something that is a blind spot for them. And if you don't do it, you're not even helping them. So a lot of times when it comes to boundaries, what we do is we act very, very codependent as a staff. You guys are a small crew, so you feel as if, and I've heard this in the group when you're talking about self-care, you feel very weighted in even stuff like calling off, right? You could be sick, but the first thing you thought in your mind, especially on small staffs, is if I call off, here's the domino effect of me leaving for one day. Now, you coming to work sick got other people sick. You weren't your best. You were irritable, and your kids felt it. The staff felt it when you could have stayed home and gave somebody the opportunity to come in to make the money that they can make for themselves in their profession. They could have not been sick. They could have had all the energy they needed to serve the class. All of that. Instead, you were thinking that you had to be here because you're codependent. Now, codependency is legitimately this idea of you can't survive or thrive without me. Like I almost feel connected to your survival. And that's dangerous because you should be able to survive.